Israel delays Palestinians' release after 6 Israelis freed. Elon Musk orders U.S. federal workers to justify jobs or resign. Hello and good afternoon. Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Otto Othman and you're watching World Today. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says the release of Palestinian prisoners planned for Saturday has been delayed until the release of the next hostages is guaranteed. Hamas, however, says Israel's failure to release the 7th batch of Palestinians at the agreed-upon time constitutes a blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement. Earlier, Hamas freed all 6 of the remaining living Israeli captives slated for release in the first phase of the truce deal. Hamas has accused Netanyahu of sabotaging the Gaza ceasefire agreement, saying the Israeli government is not engaging in negotiations for the second phase of the deal, due to end on March 1st. Details of the second and third phases of the agreement, though understood to be agreed to in principle, were supposed to be negotiated during the 6-week first phase, which has seen the release of Israeli captives in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, the partial withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, and delivery of aid into the enclave devastated by the 15 months of non-stop Israeli bombardment. Per the deal, which started on 19th January, the second phase, if finalized, would see the release of all the Israeli captives and a permanent ceasefire. A campaign to vaccinate children against polio in Gaza resumed on Saturday and will target over 500,000 children, according to the World Health Organization. Now, families gathered at medical center in Gaza City where children were given the vaccine. In September and October last year, who conducted 2 rounds of vaccination across the enclave, reaching over 95% of the target. The virus is still circulating in the enclave, meaning it could still reach a child who is under or unimmunized. WHO said 6 samples tested positive in December and January. Though access for health workers has improved since the ceasefire came into place on 19th January, some areas could not be accessed due to the fighting at the time. 7,000 children missed vaccination in Jabalia, Beit Lahia and Beit Hanun, according to the organization. The WHO said the target is to reach all children under 10, including those previously missed, to close immunity gaps and end the outbreak, adding that another vaccination round is planned for April. The agency stressed that pockets of individuals with low or no immunity provide the virus an opportunity to continue spreading and potentially cause disease. Preparations for the funeral of late Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah were underway on Saturday at the Camille Chamion Sports City Stadium on the outskirts of the Hezbollah-controlled southern suburbs. People were also seen walking from southern Lebanon towards the capital in order to attend the funeral next day. Lebanon's Hezbollah will bury its former leader, Nasrallah, on Sunday, nearly 5 months after he was killed in an Israeli airstrike in a mass funeral aimed at showing political strength after the group emerged badly weakened from last year's war. Nasrallah was killed on 27 September in an Israeli airstrike as he met commanders in a bunker in Beirut's southern suburbs, a stunning blow in the earlier phase of an Israeli offensive that has left the Iran-backed group a shadow of its former self. The funeral in Beirut's southern suburbs will also honor Hashem Safieddine, who led Hezbollah for 1 week after Nasrallah's death before he was also killed by Israel, underlining how deeply Israeli intelligence had penetrated the paramilitary group. He will be buried in the south on Monday. Nasrallah will then be buried at a dedicated site nearby. Elon Musk, the billionaire advisor to Donald Trump, said Saturday that all U.S. federal employees must justify their work or lose their job, hours after the president pushed him to be more aggressive in slashing government spending. Musk, the world's richest person and Trump's biggest donor, has led the effort to fire swaths of the government workforce. According to an email, federal workers were asked to submit approximately 5 bullets of what they have accomplished last week. Failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. The email came from the U.S. Office of Personnel Management with the subject line, "What did you do last week?" The deadline to reply was 11:59 p.m. local time, Monday. Earlier Saturday, Trump said on his Truth social platform that Musk was doing a great job, but he would like to see Musk be more aggressive. Trump has put the tech entrepreneur in charge of the new Department of Government Efficiency, tasking him with slashing public spending and tackling waste and alleged corruption. In the latest cuts announced Friday, the U.S. Defense Department is to reduce its civilian workforce by at least 5% starting next week. Trump's administration has already begun firing many other federal workers who are on probationary status. French President Emmanuel Macron will travel to Washington, D.C. next week amid alarm in Europe over U.S. President Donald Trump's hardening stance towards Ukraine and overtures to Moscow on the 3-year conflict. The leader of one of Europe's 2 nuclear powers is expected to try to convince Trump not to rush to a ceasefire deal with Vladimir Putin at any cost, keep Europe involved, and discuss military guarantees to Ukraine. Macron, who is trying to capitalize on a relationship with Trump built during the first mandates, has said agreeing to a bad deal would amount to a capitulation of Ukraine, would signal weakness to America's foes, including China and Iran. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is also expected to hold a similar trip to Washington next week. Britain and France are firming up with allies' ideas for military guarantees for Ukraine, and their 2 leaders will seek to convince Trump to provide U.S. assurance in any post-ceasefire deal. Their respective militaries began initial planning last summer for the post-war scenario, but the discussions accelerated in November after Trump secured the U.S. presidency, a French military official and 2 diplomats said. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said on Saturday that Ukraine would again become a buffer zone and would never become a member of the EU as long as its entry was against Hungary's interests. It's an annual State of the Nation speech. Orban, a critic of Western military aid to neighboring Ukraine during Russia's nearly 3-year-old invasion, also announced an income tax exemption for mothers of 2 or 3 children. He also said he would cap interest rates on housing loans at 5% from April as part of moves to shore up the economy ahead of the 2026 national election. In power since 2010, the veteran leader has struggled to drag Hungary's economy out of an inflation-led downturn, with prices back on the rise at the start of 2025, complicating Orban's re-election bid. Orban also said his government was already to impose caps on surging food prices unless talks with retailers succeed in keeping prices under control, adding he could also limit food retailing profits as a last resort. Hungarian inflation, which scaled the EU's highest levels 2 years ago, rebounded to 5.5% in January, above analysts' forecasts, with monthly price growth accelerating to its fastest pace in 2 years as food, services, and fuel prices all climbed. Coming up, 1 dead, several police wounded in France knife attack. A man carrying a handgun and zip ties took hostages inside a Pennsylvania hospital on Saturday, fatally shooting a responding police officer and wounding 5 others before he was killed by police. According to York County District Attorney Tim Barker in a press conference, the gunman entered UPMC Memorial Hospital in York, Pennsylvania on Saturday morning and went directly to the intensive care unit where he took staff members hostage. A nurse and custodian were both shot and wounded, and a doctor was grazed. Barker explained that the suspect and police exchanged gunfire after he walked into the hallway holding a female staff member at gunpoint with her hands bound. Andrew Duarte, a West York police officer, was killed by the gunman. 2 other officers were wounded and are in stable condition, as are the injured nurse and custodian.
Reviewing all of that evidence, it is absolutely clear and beyond any and all doubt that the officers were justified in taking their action and using deadly force. Quite frankly, they needed to use deadly force because by doing so, they potentially saved even more lives, even as they lost one of their own.
1 person died and 2 police officers were seriously injured Saturday in a knife attack in eastern France. Prosecutors said 3 more officers were likely wounded in the attack in the city of Mulhouse, carried out by a 37-year-old suspect who is on a terror prevention watch list and is now in custody. Of the 2 seriously wounded officers, one sustained an injury to the carotid artery and the other to the thorax. Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau later said that the French authorities had made several attempts to extradite the suspect, but that his native Algeria had refused to accept him. France's National Anti-Terror Prosecutors Unit, or PNAT, said a civilian passerby who intervened was fatally wounded. According to Mulhouse prosecutors, he was a 69-year-old Portuguese national. Police established a security perimeter after the attack that happened shortly before 4 p.m. local time during a demonstration in support of the Democratic Republic of Congo in a busy part of Mulhouse, a city of around 110,000 inhabitants. The suspect was born in Algeria and has been under judicial supervision and house arrest with an expulsion order from France. The collapse of a food court roof at a shopping mall in northwestern Peru killed 6 people and left at least 78 others injured. The defense minister said Saturday that the heavy iron roof at the Real Plaza Trujillo shopping city or mall city in the Libertad region fell on dozens of people who were at the site. Defense Minister Walter Astudillo said at a news conference that according to the information provided by local firefighters in La Libertad, 5 people died on site and a 6th at a hospital after the collapse. Astudillo also said that 30 injured people have already been discharged and 48 remain hospitalized, with 3 remained in critical condition. Luis Roncal, head of the local fire department, confirmed that they did not find any signs of life as they monitored with rescue dogs, but that the search for survivors would continue. Meanwhile, the mayor of Trujillo, Mario Reina, announced the closure of the shopping center due to imminent risk and said his government wanted to inspect other centers. Shopping complex director Carlet Rodriguez said the food court roof had been installed in 2017 and passed inspection last September. So far, the cause of the accident remains unknown. One of China's leading electric vehicle makers, Xpeng, plans to double the number of countries in which the company operates by the end of this year, in an announcement by founder and chief executive officer Xpeng on Saturday. The ambitious plan comes despite the obstacles posed by the European Union, which has imposed extra import tariffs on China-made electric vehicles of up to 35.3% after concluding Beijing's state support was unfairly undercutting European automakers. Xpeng is banking that its bespoke features such as a driving assistance, rapid recharging, and modular interiors would help it stand out from the crowd in the fiercely competitive Chinese market. On Saturday, he forecast the possible demise of certain Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers when faced with intense rivalry over price, service, and technological advances. The Chinese electric vehicle market has witnessed explosive growth in recent years, driven in part by generous subsidies from Beijing. China's government has supported the development and production of less polluting battery-powered vehicles, a field where Chinese manufacturers such as BYD and Xpeng are leading the way. Up next in sports, Man United survived late VAR penalty drama to secure draw as Everton. Former Australian national team captain Mark Milligan is excited to begin his role as assistant coach of the Harimau Malaya and is ready to help steer the national squad towards a brighter future. The 39-year-old coach, in a statement released by the Football Association of Malaysia, FAM, revealed that he was drawn to the revolutionary football project spearheaded by the regent of Johor, Tunku Mahkota Ismail, which ultimately led him to Malaysia. Milligan also expressed his commitment to utilizing his vast experience to benefit the national squad. He further expressed his pride in seeing young Malaysian players being given opportunities by clubs to compete at the highest level in Asia competitions. Now, Milligan said the most important thing is for local clubs to continue providing young players with opportunities to play, and a competitive league would certainly benefit the national team. Milligan arrived in Malaysia in mid-February and began his duties by observing the first leg of the Challenge Cup final between Selangor FC and PDRM FC last Saturday. Manchester United rallied from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 at Everton in the Premier League, with Manuel Ugarte grabbing the 80th minute equaliser with his first goal at club level in 4 years. The Uruguay midfielder rescued a point from a largely inept performance from United by driving home a shot from the edge of the area 8 minutes after Bruno Fernandes started the Vistas fight back at Goodison Park on Saturday by curling in a free kick. United had been on course to slip to a third straight loss and 9th defeat in 15 league matches since Ruben Amorim took charge in November after first half goals by Beto and Abdoulaye Doucouré. Everton faded halfway through the second half and United took advantage, though the comeback will not mask the big problems facing Amorim as he looks to get the fallen English giant up the standings from its current embarrassing position of 15th place. There was a late score for United when Everton was awarded a penalty for a foul by Harry Maguire and Ashley Young in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. But after a video review, the on-field referee changed his initial decision. Robin van Persie is taking over as Feyenoord coach, making a swift return to the club where he started and ended his playing career. It was reported on Saturday that Feyenoord, who this week progressed to the Champions League last 16, and Heerenveen have reached an agreement for Van Persie to switch, and he is set start next week. Neither club have announced the move, but Dutch media said Feyenoord would pay a fee for Van Persie to leave Heerenveen with immediate effect. The 41-year-old signed a 2-year deal at Heerenveen from the start of the season for his first job as senior coach and has had mixed results as the club sit 9th in the Dutch league standings. They suffered a 9-1 defeat at AZ Alkmaar in September and cup elimination by amateurs Quick Boys and have not won in their last 5 matches. They did, however, beat champions PSV Eindhoven in December. Van Persie started as a teenager at Feyenoord and helped them win the Dutch Cup in 2003. In between, he played for Arsenal and Manchester United and scored a record 50 goals in 102 appearances for the Netherlands. He joined Feyenoord's coaching staff where he worked with the youth teams and was an assistant to Arne Slot. On to the Saudi Pro League. Al Ittihad moved 7 points clear in the league standings following a dominant 4-1 home victory over second place Al Hilal in Jeddah on Saturday.
Got room for the cross.
It was Al Hilals that started the match on the front foot, creating early chances through Salim Al-Dawsari and Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. Brazilian winger Malcolm forced a crucial save for Al Ittihad goalkeeper Predrag Rajkovic in the 17th minute. Al Hilal's persistent attacking paid off as Marcos Leonardo put the visitors ahead. However, goals from Hassan Kadesh and Steven Bergwijn had Al Ittihad 2-1 up at the break. Bergwijn's second goal increased their lead before Karim Benzema wrapped up with a win with a volley from a corner. Al Ittihad climbed up to 55 points, 7 clear of reigning champions Al Hilal after 21 matches. Benzema, who has provided 7 assists, tops the Saudi League scoring chart with 16 goals. He is level with former Real Madrid teammate Cristiano Ronaldo, who has netted 16 times for Al Nassr. Despite Ittihad's lead on top of the standings, Benzema remained cautious about the team's chances of securing the title with 13 matches remaining. Russian Andrei Rublev was given a tough test early on, but finished in style to beat Britain's 8th seed Jack Draper 7-5, 5-7, 6-1 and win the Qatar Open on Saturday. To battle in the opening 2 sets. The opener went with serve for the first 11 games, with Rublev serving to love on 4 occasions and Draper twice doing likewise. Russian 17-year-old Mira Andreeva wrapped up a fairy tale week in Dubai by becoming the youngest ever WTA 1000 champion with victory over Clara Tauson on Saturday. After ousting 3 Grand Slam winners, including second-seeded Iga Swiatek, en route to the final, Andreeva ended Tauson's own dream run at the tournament with a 7-6, 6-1 victory against the Dane. Tauson had been a giant slayer herself this week, knocking out world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka on her way to the biggest final of her career. The 22-year-old entered the clash with Andreeva leading the tour with 15 match wins so far this season. She was looking to add a second title to her tally in 2025 and 4th overall. But Andreeva had other ideas as she overcame her big-hitting opponent in 1 hour and 46 minutes of all-court prowess. In the youngest WTA 1000 final since the category was introduced in 2009, Andreeva played a near-perfect opening set tiebreak to take the lead after 60 minutes of play. She upped the ante in the second set, breaking twice for a 5-1 advantage and served out the win at the first time of asking. On Monday, Andreeva will become the first 17-year-old to be ranked in the top 10 since Nicole Vaidisova in 2007. Up next, dazzling ice castles draw tourists to New Hampshire and other U.S. states. Visitors to Beijing's Forbidden City may one day get a peek of centuries-old treasures that have been pulled out of museum storage. The artifacts amassed by Chinese emperors in centuries past include a Qing dynasty lacquer panel inlaid with jade, lapis lazuli, and a gate depicting Taoist deities in the land of mist and cloud. They are among thousands of items that are undergoing restoration, an effort that can take months, if not years, due to their varying states of disrepair.
这是一对挂屏，另一对挂屏，另一件已经修复完成，而这一件呢损伤是非常严重的。一是这个整体结构有开裂的情况，而且呢嵌件呢有100余件，嵌件都已经脱落，就是松动。这件文物呢，这儿木质结构呢先由木质组修复，然后漆器的这个漆底的层的这个修复呢由漆器组修复，然后最后这个镶嵌的部分，然后到了我们的镶嵌组进行加固、粘接，补配，这其中还有缺失的东西。
Many of the restoration and curation efforts are coinciding with the 100th anniversary of the Palace Museum in 2025, and many of the restored items may find their way to a new branch of the Palace Museum set to open later this year. The state-of-the-art venue could double or even triple the number of pieces that can be put on display. Of the nearly 2 million cultural relics under the safekeeping of the Palace Museum, from centuries-old paintings to ancient bronze ware and rare ceramics, just 10,000 pieces are showcased at a time. An annual architectural celebration of ice is up and running again in New Hampshire and several other states. Ice castles, which are both temporary art installations and tourist attractions, feature towers, tunnels, archways, and caves, all created by growing, harvesting, and arranging thousands of icicles and then blasting them with sprinklers. The company behind the displays has expanded since its first installation in 2011. This year, it has operations in Utah, Minnesota, 2 locations in Colorado and New Hampshire, where the site includes a snow tubing hill and ice bar. After a mild winter last year, officials were thrilled that temperatures were cold enough to open earlier this season.
We strive to produce a different castle every year for folks so they can keep coming back and see something new. So if you came last year, you're going to step in this year and see something completely different. You won't see anything the same.
As a winter storm brought biting cold and wet snow to the south, visitors to the New Hampshire castle bundled up to explore its twists and turns throughout the week. In an orchard by a Welsh castle, hundreds of people gathered to wish good health to the apple trees in a centuries-old tradition enjoying a revival. As mulled cider was handed around, a dozen hobby horses swayed eerily to folk music. Made from real horses' skulls mounted on poles and carried by someone cloaked in a bedsheet, they are bedecked in ribbons with shiny baubles glinting in the eye sockets. Singing, drinking, banging saucepans, and hanging toasted bread on tree branches are all part of wassailing, along with the colorful horse's head, which are a Welsh variation. Traditionally held on the 12th night, the Christian festival on the last night of the 12 days of Christmas, wassailing is intended to ward off bad spirits from orchards, ensuring a bountiful crop of fruit. Well, that concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, Israel delays Palestinians' release after 6 Israelis freed. Until then, I'm Otto Othman from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching.